Gisteren in het Asturia Event Center vond de tweede editie van de International Business Conference plaats. Dit evenement is georganiseerd door de Suriname Guyana Kamer van Koophandel en vindt plaats van 4 tot 6 februari 2025. Het heeft als doel de moed voor internationale investeerders, de deuren naar de regio, maar meer nog Suriname te openen. President Irfan Ali van de Coöperatieve Republiek Guyana was persoonlijk niet aanwezig, maar hij deelde middels videomateriaal de lessen de Coöperatieve Republiek Guyana heeft geleerd met Suriname.
These are exciting times for the Republic of Suriname. The country has recently received a positive report following the Article 4 consultation of the International Monetary Fund. The report of the Article 4 consultation affirms that Suriname stands on the threshold of a transformative era. The outlook for its economy is buoyant and optimistic. The IMF notes that the signs of progress are undeniable. Economic growth is accelerating, inflation is stabilizing, donor support is increasing, employment has been restored to pre-pandemic levels, and public debt is on a steady decline. Suriname's international bond spreads have reached historic lows, reflecting growing confidence in the country's economic trajectory. With the development of a major offshore oil field set to commence production in 2028, economic growth is expected to reach record-breaking levels and contribute directly and indirectly to economic transformation. This will set in train a wave of economic activity that will spawn the expansion of businesses and the generation of jobs, improvements in infrastructure, and the improvement of the living standard of the people of this country. Like Guyana, Suriname is positioning itself as a global leader in environmental services. This past year, it entered the carbon credit markets. These credits have the potential to generate significant revenue for Suriname, while ensuring the country's commitment to global environmental responsibility. The signs, therefore, are positive to confirm the view of the IMF and others that Suriname is poised for a transformative and prosperous future. However, I'm sure that the government is aware that translating a country's natural resource wealth into improvement in human well-being cannot be left to chance. Suriname's vast natural resources offer unprecedented opportunities to transform a nation into one of prosperity. But if there is one thing we have learned from history, it is that wealth alone is not enough to secure resilience and or prosperity. It requires sound management and forward planning, qualities which are possessed by our country's leadership. Therefore, I wish to use this presentation to offer 5 vital lessons that we in Guyana have learned over the years and which can be helpful as Suriname enters this exciting phase of its development. I want to share with you some lessons that I believe can guide you as you work to translate your natural wealth into greater economic resilience and improved standards of living for your people. Lesson 1. Stay on the democratic path. Democracy, my friends, is not just a form of governance. It is a foundation of stability. The absence of democracy provides fertile ground for instability. Political instability increases risk, raises the cost of doing business, and serves as a disincentive for investment. When a nation steps outside the democratic fold, it risks undermining the very stability that investors seek. Instability, in turn, attracts carpetbaggers, herds of carpetbaggers, and economic predators, unwanted and unwelcome elements who exploit a country's lack of democracy and legitimacy. Therefore, never stray from the democratic path. But beyond economics, democracy is vital to ensure that development is inclusive. It is through strong democratic institutions that all voices, whether rich or poor, young or old, can be heard. And let us be clear, inclusivity is not just a buzzword, it is a requirement for long-term sustainability. Preserve your democratic institutions, strengthen them, nurture the culture of participation and accountability. When people feel empowered and included, they become the custodians of progress, ensuring that the development you achieve is not just a one-off development, but development that benefits all of the people. The second lesson is to act early. The years before an economic boom are critical. They are not the time for complacency or daydreaming of prosperous days ahead. They are a time for laying the groundwork for sustained development. Suriname is poised for an upward economic growth trajectory. The IMF projects, with the intensified oil production, your growth could soar to 55% in 2028. Let me be frank with you. This will be a significant economic boom. But let me also share with you, it will not happen on its own. It requires strong and stable leadership. The ramping up of offshore petroleum production will require significant onshore support. Logistics and transportation, storage and warehousing services, port and shore-based facility, construction and fabrication, waste management services, safety and security services, and engineering and technical support must all be in place to capitalize fully on the opportunities presented by offshore exploration. And it's not just about infrastructure. It is about the people who will work in these industries. This means education and training must be prioritized now. Equally important is the fact that we in Guyana have already garnered tremendous experience. We have built infrastructure, we have built training institutes and programs, and we have been able to develop good experience in offshore exploration and the support services. Feel free to work with the Guyana private sector in coordinating and building partnership to meet the future requirement of Suriname. Start planning for these services today. Build the partnerships, invest in infrastructure, and train your people so that when the oil flows increase substantially, Suriname is not only ready to receive it, but ready to grow sustainably from it. The third concern and lesson I want to share is the importance of a diversified economy. We have all seen what happens to economies that become overly reliant on oil. When global prices drop, the consequences can be devastating. Suriname take this lesson to heart. Economic resilience requires diversification. In Guyana, for example, we consciously decided to modernize our traditional sectors, bauxite, gold, mining, agriculture, and forestry, so they could continue contributing to the economy alongside oil and gas. As a result, while Guyana has enjoyed record-breaking growth due to oil, the non-oil sector has grown by more than 40% over the past 4 years. Suriname can do the same. Look to your strengths, whether in agriculture, gold mining, or forestry, and invest in them. But also look beyond. Tourism is one sector in which I believe Suriname has tremendous potential. Your rich culture, lush rainforests, and vibrant history can make Suriname a sought-after destination for ecotourism. Like Guyana, I think Suriname should invest in tourism, technology, and renewable energy. These sectors will ensure that your economy remains strong even when oil revenues fluctuate. The fourth lesson is planning for future generations. The wealth from your oil reserves must be seen as a tool to help you for future planning. Not an end by itself, but a means to opening up new opportunities, creating higher standards of living for generations to come. To achieve this, you must invest in infrastructure. Development follows infrastructure, roads, ports, power plants. These are the arteries through which economic activity flows. But infrastructure alone is not enough. We must also invest in human capital. Education and health are not expenses. They're investment in human capital that we must all make. Suriname, like Guyana, also must ensure the established mechanism to ensure the intergenerational equity. This means resisting the temptation to spend excessively before oil revenues materialize, and ensuring that the benefit of this wealth are felt not just today, but by the children of tomorrow. When we talk about intergenerational wealth, we are talking about a vision that sees beyond the next election cycle or the next budget, a vision that imagines a Suriname where every child has access to quality education, every citizen has access to health care, and every community has infrastructure it needs to ensuring dignified working conditions. And we see this work ongoing in Suriname. We see a clear vision and strategy to ensure that these objectives are realized.